What's up, Taiwan? I'm Sandy Chu with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. The election of a new pope may not only impact Taiwan's faithful. The Vatican is one of Taiwan's few allies and the only one remaining in Europe. As Rick Lowert reports, Taipei will be keen to maintain those ties under Pope Leo XIV.
Taiwan's 300,000 Catholics are joining the hundreds of millions of Catholics around the world celebrating their new Pope, Cardinal Robert Prevost, now Pope Leo XIV. And Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te, has joined other world leaders in congratulating the world's first American Pope. But Taiwan has another reason to be looking at this change of leadership in the Catholic Church. The Vatican is one of just 12 countries around the world that has official diplomatic ties with Taiwan, that recognizes Taiwan as a country. Here at the Bishops' Conference in Taipei, the local leaders of the Catholic Church are giving some insights on how that important relationship might now develop.
我相信为在台湾的信友，在台湾的天主子民会很高兴这一位教宗愿意更多的认识台湾，也愿意需要透过这个天主教会跟这边的人有更多的一个联系。
Taiwan's diplomatic allies face pressure from China, which claims Taiwan as part of its sovereign territory, to switch ties from Taipei to Beijing. Taiwan's ambassador to the Vatican recently told the Central News Agency that when he was a cardinal, the new pope differentiated between China and Taiwan. People here in Taiwan will now be hoping that he holds that distinction now that he's taking office as pope. Patrick Chen and Rick Lowert in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
The United States and the UK have announced a new trade agreement.
A historic step, the deal includes plans that will bring the United Kingdom into the economic security alignment with the United States. That's the first of its kind. And by the way, we have many meetings planned today and tomorrow, and every country wants to be making deals. And it's very
U.S. President Donald Trump agreed to reduce import taxes on some British cars and metals. Meanwhile, the UK will boost its imports of U.S. products like beef and ethanol. It's the first trade deal since Trump announced sweeping global tariffs last month, upending global trade and stoking fears of a recession in the U.S. Taiwan's tech sales are booming as U.S. consumers get their orders in ahead of Trump's looming tariffs, Referendums reports.
Taiwan's trade is surging in the second quarter of 2025 as orders stack up for semiconductors and other tech products. It comes as the global supply chain anticipates the next round of US tariffs, first announced in April, then delayed by 90 days. With Taiwanese products facing a possible 32% levy in early July, assuming no deal is made before then, US buyers are getting their orders in before the hike.
我们的客人目前的反应大概都是把之前原来在 Q3 要出的货，尽量希望能在 Q2 把它出了。那 Q3 现在的需求，说实话，以美国客人来讲，稍微比较观望。那我们也持续跟客人做充分的沟通。
The trade surge is creating some big numbers for Taiwan, the producer of most of the world's most powerful chips. Both exports and imports hit their second highest figures ever in April, with almost $50 billion in exports, around 80% of that the sale of semiconductors or other tech products.
But it's not all good news. Freight and cargo companies, including major player EVA Air, are feeling the fallout of the US-China trade war.
That's as shippers slam on the brakes to avoid the over 100% tariffs Beijing and Washington have thrown at each other.
确实，我们看到从大陆出来的电商货是有减少，那幅度也不能说不大。美国还是有豁免的一些产品，当然我们也还持续在关注整个大陆出口的一个状况。那必要的时候，我们就会把货机做一些调整。
But with US and Chinese officials set to meet for trade talks in the coming days, and the beginnings of a US-UK trade deal emerging earlier this week, there could be hope yet on the horizon for a return to normalcy for global trade. Joseph Wu and Referendums for TaiwanPlus.
India says Pakistan has carried out multiple attacks on its military facilities. The two nuclear-armed countries now appear locked in a cycle of escalation. Adil Bra reports.
Air raid sirens, whale warnings in India-administered Jammu and Kashmir and Punjab state. All night, people along the border area saw red lights flaring across the night sky. Media reports say those lights were drones and munitions launched from Pakistan against Indian military installations. A sweeping blackout followed the sirens, leaving residents in the dark.
There are sounds of shelling and firing. We have also seen trails of smoke in the sky.
The extent of the damage remains unclear. India says it intercepted multiple drones and missiles launched from Pakistan in what appears to be a direct response to Indian strikes a day earlier.
Pakistan attempted to engage a number of military targets in northern and western India using drones and missiles. These were neutralized by the integrated counter unmanned aerial system and other air defense systems.
India has released images of its airstrikes on Wednesday. It says they were in response to what it calls a terrorist attack in India-administered Kashmir on April 22nd. New Delhi is calling that attack, which left 26 civilians dead, the original spark of the conflict. Islamabad denies its involvement. Families in Pakistan are reportedly fleeing the border regions, fearing further hostilities.
Most people have left the village, but a few families remain. Only some men remain. The rest of the women, children, and elderly have gone, taking only a few belongings, like clothes.
India now says Pakistan is carrying out further artillery shelling and airstrikes, targeting 15 separate locations. Pakistan's military refutes India's claims.
India has created a hype since yesterday about Pakistan attacking 15 locations, the 15 locations they're talking about. It's such a fantastic and cooked-up story.
The two nuclear-armed nations now seem locked in a cycle of escalation, as schools and public institutions along parts of India-Pakistan border remain closed. Major powers like the US, China, and Russia have offered to mediate a de-escalation. Without an exit, many fear the past week's sorties and skirmishes may grow into a wider war. Eason Chen and Adil Brad for TaiwanPlus.
US President Donald Trump says he could ask China for help ending the Russia-Ukraine war. He told reporters it was only natural to ask Beijing to help negotiate. Trump made securing peace in Ukraine a major election promise, but has so far made little headway brokering talks. But Trump says he is helping move Ukraine toward peace.
I don't know. I think we're making good progress. The fighting is a little bit different than it was. I think if we weren't involved, Russia would be, going at it to maybe get the whole thing. Without our involvement, they'd be able to get it because we supplied a lot of different things foolishly.
Russia said it would have a 3-day ceasefire starting Thursday. Ukraine says Russia has already broken that commitment. The leaders of China and Russia have pledged to work together to counter U.S. influence. Chinese President Xi Jinping told Russian leader Vladimir Putin their countries should be friends of steel. Xi was in Moscow for Russia's Victory Day, marking the end of World War II in Europe. He and Putin signed a statement to deepen cooperation and stand against what they call U.S. bullying. Putin has been under fire over Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and Xi is in the middle of a tariff war with the U.S. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un supervised the test fire of a short-range ballistic missile and long-range artillery on Thursday, according to state media. Kim reportedly also inspected the military's nuclear trigger system and called on his country's nuclear forces to prioritize combat readiness. Pyongyang says Thursday's test involved the tactical ballistic missile Hwasong-11, which Western officials say is being used by Russia to strike Ukraine. It was the 4th ballistic missile test conducted by North Korea this year. Taiwan's legislature was set to discuss a new bill that may initiate multiple referendum votes in the country, but those plans have been delayed. Leslie Liao has more.
Martial law and the death penalty. That's what's on legislators' minds as of late. The opposition Kuomintang has put forth 2 bills in Taiwan's legislature to initiate countrywide referendums on those 2 topics. And it was scheduled for final discussions and a vote on Friday, but that plan has been pushed back. The contentious referendums were expected to stall legislative proceedings as the ruling Democratic Progressive Party fights the bills tooth and nail. On Friday, the DPP's legislators signed up to speak in the chamber en masse, indicating they would try to hamper the referendum's passage. After private cross-party discussions in the chamber, the KMT agreed not to bring up the referendum bills in the legislature, instead choosing to prioritize another bill amending laws concerning Taiwan's holidays. What is it about the referendums that are so divisive? The first referendum will ask, do you agree that the government should avoid war and not let Taiwan become like Ukraine, which is under martial law and where young people die while their country is destroyed? The KMT says this question is a response to President Lai Ching-te designating China as a foreign hostile force. China claims Taiwan as part of its territory and has not ruled out unification by force. The KMT says that the ruling Democratic Progressive Party's rhetoric puts Taiwan in danger and on the brink of war.
可以因为一人的决定就可以进行宣布对岸为敌对势力，让两岸进入了一个兵凶战危、准战争的关系。
The DPP and the KMT have long disagreed on how to deal with China. While Beijing sees the DPP as, quote, separatists and has historically refused to engage with any of the party's administrations, the KMT has had friendlier relations with China. The second referendum bill will ask, do you agree that a unanimous decision should not be required to hand down a death sentence in criminal trials? The death sentence is also something the ruling and main opposition party have disagreed on. While some in the DPP have advocated for outright abolishing the death penalty in Taiwan, the KMT wants to keep it in place. The current government has not indicated it has any plans to get rid of the death penalty. The KMT holds a majority in the legislature with the help of the smaller Taiwan People's Party. That means both referendums are expected to pass when they eventually come for a vote.
昨天的朝野协商，大家都看得非常清楚。韩国瑜的协商就只是过水，案子都是蓝白定的。
Taiwan's Central Election Commission has said that if the bills pass, the vote will be scheduled for August. Alex Tun and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
Mother's Day in Taiwan is just around the corner. But for people planning to give the traditional carnations as gifts, they may have to check their wallets. Considered a symbol of mother's love for her children, carnations are a popular flower, often gifted on Mother's Day, which falls on Sunday in Taiwan. Here in Taiwan, most carnations are grown in the central county of Changhua. However, this year, many of the blooms may not be ready in time for the special day because of unusually cold weather earlier this year.
今年遇到寒流比较多所以它有减产，生长缓慢减产，它大概两成左右。是种植康乃馨也有到20年以上没有遇过这种情形。
The late bloom is being reflected in carnation prices, with one variety costing 30% more than in previous years. Despite the higher cost, customers say they are still willing to buy.
人家种的也辛苦了，反正还是要该给人家就要给人家。
一年一次而已啊，对啊，所以是可以接受的。
With the lower supply, florists say there is a chance that prices may continue to rise further before Mother's Day on Sunday. Scott Huang and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. To end the show, we bring you scenes of visitors observing the restoration of a 19th century painting at a museum in Paris. I'm Sandy Chi. Take care and see you next time. For more stories from Taiwan and Expo 2025, download the TaiwanPlus app.